It just seems so much louder. Also, maybe I'm not loud enough. I don't know. Okay. We gotta do quick little shares. Oh, this does a load screen. Get this up to the socials. Alright, while this is going on, I'll just say hi to everybody this morning, or afternoon now, it's 12:06. Good afternoon. Let's see. Oh, my grandma's texting me. Well, text her back in a minute. We'll get into it in just a moment. Cool. With the game at least starting to load while I do this. One thing that sucks about running a VPN, which I don't mind too much, is the fact is anytime you want to just Google something, in my case typically to spell something, because we're going to talk about this in the stream, I didn't hashtag TwitchNet. Oh well. If people find it, they find it. If they don't, they don't. That's fine. Okay. So. Long story short, we'll start off the fact that we are back at it again. We have been working on year 2 of 4, so within the collection of all the Harry Potter games, there are actually 7 full years of games that you can play. There's actually only 2 games. Originally, actually, there was years 1 through 4 they sold, and then they didn't actually make the other games until the other books and movies were released. In this case, so year 1 through 4, and then they separated the other set of games that actually came in a separate disc, actually, 5 through 7. Then you could actually buy it as a collection, which I did, of course, as 1 through 4 and 5 through 7. But what happens is that you must then, once you're done with years 1 through 4, actually clear out and actually make a whole new game set for 5 through 7. So if you've never actually played the games before, it's one of those things where it kind of gets frustrating because you lose all your case. You don't really actually lose all your studs, you just start over. You don't know any of your spells, you're learning new spells, and you don't have any characters unlocked, so you're basically starting the game all over again. First time I went through, I was actually a little peeved, in the nicest term I'm going to put it as. I'm going to recline real quick, and also turn this. There we go, so I can recline a little bit. Oh, that's nice. Okay, anyways, so yeah, I was a little upset about that, but it was fine. I figured it out pretty quickly that it's basically you're restarting the game like the other one, because it's actually just 2 separate games. Anyway, so where we're in right now is we're in year 2. Throughout the entire game, though, we've only found 2 red blocks, which, in this case, if you're just starting out the game, don't feel discouraged. The red blocks are something that you can find at any time throughout the game, meaning if you come back and play the free mode, which once you finish the story mode in that different level, you'll be fine. You can come back, pick the characters you want to pick to make sure that you can actually access all these things, like the red blocks, in this case the green, or not the green, excuse me, the gold bricks, and or the actual emblems itself, or the crest. And so it's one of those things where you take your time and go forward for that. Like I said, we'll just continue the story from here. But what I want to talk about today actually is just my experience kind of growing up in this case, in the United States, in New York State, being dyslexic and having ADD, and the idea of when people actually were diagnosed me, when my parents actually found that I was having trouble in school, and then also being the fact that I actually, at a very young age, tricked a lot of teachers and such. So we'll just play and we can talk. If anyone has questions or would like to talk about their experience, I will love to hear from them. If not, I'm just going to talk about my experience. I find that I have no problem talking about it, but also in the same sense it's therapeutical for me, as there's a lot of things that I'm still digesting about my experience when it comes to my education. So that would start with that. So at a very young age, 1-2 years old, I actually started speaking pretty proficiently. My parents noticed that I was picking up on a lot more terms, but the one thing that they noticed starting pretty young was the fact is that I could not do nursery rhymes. Most kids, of course, in preschool age will be able to pick up on songs, nursery rhymes, poems even. For whatever reason, I couldn't. And they would try very hard to get me to do nursery rhymes. I should also mention my grandmother, who is still with us, has been a teacher for a very long time. And instead of, most kids who would just go to their daycare, or in this case pre-K, or even preschool, my grandmother, of course, would then take me home and work with me to do certain readings, learn my numbers, alphabets, that type of stuff. I should mention how old I am. So I am 23 years old. It did take me a little bit longer to get through college. I just recently graduated this past May of 2020. I graduated from high school in 2015, so it did take me a full 5 years to graduate from college, but I'll go into that story longer once I go through the path. When I was 4 years old, New York State has a cutoff at December of that year. If you aren't turning 5 by December, you must be waited until the next year, until you're 5 years old, to enter kindergarten. But they have an exception. If you're 4 years old and you'll be turning 5 the same school year, they'll let you in. As long as you can pass certain tests, basically, to make sure that you are capable of doing what you have to do to become properly educated within the system. So, of course, being the fact that they thought, at the time at least, that I was smart enough, that I was able to catch on with reading and writing and that type of stuff, and even some of the mathematics situations, they put me through the tests of the school. In this case, I went to a school called West Street School for my elementary school, and I passed. Like, with flying colors is what my grandmother and my mother basically say every time. I don't remember any of this. You could tell me exactly what happened, I wouldn't know what you're talking about. I'm just going to pause a second while they do this cutscene. Oh, sorry, my neck also hurts. Let me take a quick sip of water. They're going after the spiders. Okay, so anyways, so I should know that there's no sound anyways, so it doesn't really matter, I guess, too much. So anyways, so passed with flying colors. And because of that, they allowed me in that year to attend kindergarten at age 4, which isn't that uncommon. A lot of kids who have, like I said, birthdays that they will turn 5 that school year will be able to attend kindergarten. It comes down to is they have a cutoff in December. My birthday was in November, so I was in my graduating class, one of the youngest students. I got through kindergarten no problem. I got through first grade, and my teachers finally started noticing that when I was writing my name or writing sentences, was starting to switch letters, in this case being the fact that this was their first sign of being dyslexic. One of the first signs besides the nursery rhymes. So one of the biggest signs that they noticed was the fact that I was switching my P's and B's. In this case, I was switching actually I's and L's. So my name is Caitlin, so there is 2 I's and 1 L. In other cases, W's and M's, so on and so forth. When it comes to numbers, same thing. Anything that looked like a number, sometimes I'd switch with a letter. What am I supposed to do here? Oh, yes, okay. This is gonna take forever. So, in New York State, you must be tested, just like I would assume in any other state, to confirm that you are in fact having some form of, in this case, what they at the time would call learning disability. I do not know the proper terms nowadays of what this term is, and I haven't looked it up recently, so that could be also, if you see that I'm calling it learning disability instead of something else that is a new term, I apologize. So in first grade, in what I would consider the spring semester, my parents agreed with the teachers to get me tested to check out if I was dyslexic. The big shocker wasn't so much that I was dyslexic, but more the fact that they found out I was in fact also had the difference. I should go in first. I had ADD, not ADHD, but ADD. So the difference of ADHD and ADD is attention deficit disorder. ADHD is attention deficit hyperactive disorder, or, and some people do not like to use disorder, they would use it like a deficit. The easiest way for me to explain that to a lot of people is not so much for a younger student, but as I grew up, like any other, depending on how old you are in each state, 15, 16-year-old, I got my permit and my license to start driving. Have you ever seen the movie Up? Well, in the scenes where Doug sees a squirrel, he immediately will start paying attention to that squirrel. When I was learning to drive, I did the exact same thing. And I don't always like to admit it, but I always find it funny now as someone who understands the symptoms and stuff like that, that when I was learning to drive, I saw a squirrel crossing the road, and immediately my attention, instead of went to 2 and 4, it was, where's the squirrel going? And following the squirrel with the wheel. And so it can be, in this case, in my scenario, a little dangerous if I don't make sure I'm actually paying attention properly. But basically the difference is so much the fact that people with ADHD are typically more hyperactive. They have other symptoms, of course, than that, but they also have the attention issue as well. For me, especially within my educational system, I had a hard time focusing. But I also had other symptoms that added to my ADD. And this isn't everybody who has ADD. This is just something that they focus with me. I had no attention when it came to certain subjects. In this case, because I was also dyslexic, I also absolutely hated English and reading and writing, anything that I felt that I couldn't do right. But being also dyslexic aided a part of my brain, which I can go into more detail about later if someone has a question, when it came to math and science and even music. And so when it came to those subjects, I loved it, and I would put in so much effort into those things. A lot of people always would get on me about how the fact that I personally would do very well in certain subjects but would do so poorly in other. And the only way I could explain it to a lot of people was the fact that that I was dyslexic, and people were very upset, that I would get extra help. So the big thing in school, which I'll go back in a minute, is once you are finally diagnosed with some form of learning disability, which in this case is for me was being ADD, having dyslexia, and then also having another form of a learning disability, which is basically having a hard time reading and writing and spelling. And besides being dyslexic, there was another term that I can't exactly remember right now. It's all on my forums, but long story short, once you are diagnosed with such things, in New York State at least, a lot of times they will try to properly help you besides going through the normal educational system. In this case, for me, it meant going into what's known as resource room. And resource room was an aide who would come into all of my classes to be able to, help me in the things that I needed. Making sure I was spelling things properly, making sure I was putting things in the right format, because a big thing that I later really struggled with was sentence formatting. And you think, okay, how hard is it to format a sentence? Well, for someone who's dyslexic, and grammar is something who is not for saying, it is not, 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 it can be very struggling. It becomes very difficult for someone who's also dyslexic. Even in my sentence structure, when I'm talking, you may see that I will switch up a verb or an adjective within the sentence, and it doesn't make any sense, but in my brain it makes complete sense. So I can't explain that in any way, shape, or form other than that's just what it is. So anyways, in second grade, they finally did get me into resource room. They started testing me, doing all this other stuff. Sorry, I gotta focus for 2 seconds. Once all that happened, they started putting me in resource room. So like daily, or every other day, depending on the week, I would attend a period time where I would actually be taught basically the same information that my peers were learning, but in a different format. So that my brain could understand it, basically. And sometimes I always felt that for a long time, dumbed down version of the information. It wasn't until I got older where I realized that, in fact, it wasn't a dumbed down version of the same information. It was just a different roadmap, if that makes sense, for my brain. Sometimes, though, the resource room teacher would also just be like an extra help. So let's say that week, even though I may be good in science and math, I struggled on my times tables, or I struggled on a particular subject. The resource room teacher could also help you with that particular subject, give you a little more aid, kind of like more of a study guide in this sense, and be able to help you in that account. All the way through elementary school, I received help. I also received what's known as an individual educational plan. The IEP basically stated that I was in fact had been tested through the school psychologist, and that I, by state law, would be able to receive certain resources, in this case, resource room. As I got older, though, things did change. Not so much with my mind or my or being dyslexic or ADD, because that is a thing, but more the fact that school changes. So after school, which is K through 5 in my case, I attend middle school. And in middle school, that is that is 6 through 8. Now, in some states, 6th grade is still considered elementary school. Other states, it's not. In my case, even some districts around here, they still consider 6th grade to be part of elementary school. In reality, 6th grade still is considered elementary school within New York State for most cases, but for some reason they put it in our middle school. Structure of classes change, of course, when you go into middle school. Middle school is more to move around, kind of like what high school students get to experience. They get to learn about lockers and going to gym class and changing for gym and so on and so forth. Well, with middle school also came, in my case, bullies. So our middle school, I think like a lot of other middle schools, is the first time where a lot of students are integrated with the other schools. So in my case, there was 2 elementary schools. Okay, 2 elementary schools within, and this is the first time really that I got to experience any of the other students that I didn't get to experience while I was at my elementary school. The big issue times resource room wasn't given to students, how do I put this nicely? Wasn't given to students who actually needed it for their educational purpose, but more they needed resource room for more of a emotional and attitude adjustment. And that's the only way I could describe it in this case for this particular student. So this particular student, who I know for a fact times, did struggle in school, but they actually put their mind and effort into it, did just fine. They weren't diagnosed as dyslexic, they didn't have a learning disability, they didn't have ADD, they didn't have any of that stuff. I don't know, my audio keeps cutting out, that's weird. Anyways, so this particular student was very, more than rude to me. She tried to hurt me many times when I was in middle school because of the fact that she felt that I was abusing the system because I was good in one subject but not another. Long story short, this student went somewhere else after 6th grade. I don't really know what happened to her particularly until later on. But more bullies came along, not so much because of the fact that I was dyslexic or ADD, just because bullies are bullies and it just happened that way. However, New York State has still has the same law, I'm pretty sure, that after so many years, you have to be retested again. Oop. This one I feel like we gotta pay attention with. We'll keep going once I get through here. Oh, I missed that. Well, we'll have to play storm or free mode later on. So basically, in 8th grade, my parents, I think, also wanted to understand more about being dyslexic and going through that whole process of understanding the brain, because the brain has a lot to do with it. But also understanding what my capabilities will be later in life. Because there are, in some cases, a lot of struggle later in life with jobs or college or even just standard things to be able to function in what at least the doctor at the time called normal functioning life. So in my case, my parents, thankfully, money, had the ability to to get me tested by a very old psychologist, basically. But he was known for doing this, basically, the study of the brain and everything else. And so, anyways, so around with sweater. So in 8th grade, my mom and my grandma actually took me to this guy in a bigger city than where I live. And I spent, let's see, from like 8 in the morning until like 4 or 5 o'clock at night doing test after test after test after test. Now, when I say test, I don't mean like they gave me a piece of paper and said, do your facts sheet with your numbers, or do like sentence writing or whatever else. They're specialized tests to actually diagnose someone to be dyslexic, or in this case, who also has ADD. It can take things like the biggest one that I remember to this day that frustrated me so badly that's like ingrained in my brain is that they had a set of blocks, 6 blocks, inch by inch, like a cube basically. And each side of the block, there were 6 faces. They had a different image. In this case, one had a white side, a black side. One had the top being white and the bottom being black. The other one has the top being black, the bottom being white. And the other sides, they had a diagonal, same thing, white, black, or black, white. And then they would give you an image. And I still to this day do not know why I can't do this, but they would give you an image, and you would have to basically make that image based off of the blocks. So the first image is an all-white side. Pretty standard, you can take out the box. Second image typically is all-black side. Same thing. Next image is all white, all black on the top and bottom. Okay, pretty easy in that one. Then it gets complicated, where my brain cannot take and basically mirror an image. So there's and I've actually learned this when it came to trying to do things within a mirror. So the idea is that if you were to complicate image enough, like a more complicated image, excuse me, my brain just cannot analyze it enough where I can then also duplicate it onto like another piece of paper, or in this case, like put puzzle pieces together. So I struggle with puzzles, I struggle with drawing, I struggle with any type of thing that needs any form of symmetry. It's all going with that as well. Sorry, my uncle. Oh, wait, did it finally come up? So that's also part of our ADD. I didn't take my Adderall today, so we'll go into more of that as well later on. But any slight thing, I could be talking to you. In this case, I'm not really talking to you, I'm talking to the stream. And something like a notification on my phone, or twinkle a light, or a sound even, will completely derail the talk that I'm having a conversation with you, and I will focus on that 110%. And sometimes even when I try to go back into the conversation, I will have no idea what I'm talking about. Thankfully, that was enough where I knew what I was talking about. Who works out of Seattle just sent me a link, and I just wanted to see it quick because I hadn't talked to him in a while. So anyways, another thing with ADD. So anyways, long story short, with the whole testing scenario, part of the test was also to go through a brain scan. Something that I have learned when I was going through this whole process was with the brain scan and being dyslexic, part of your brain actually does not develop properly. Now, this does not mean everyone who has dyslexia has the exact same brain pattern as me or the same like this, but in this case, a part of my brain that develops with speech, writing, reading, and such like that did not actually develop at all properly. I should say it's still sort of there, but it's very tiny compared to someone who's not dyslexic. And so when I was going through, the doctor came in and was able to see my brain versus someone who does not have dyslexia or was dyslexic, and was able to show me the difference in the different nodes within inside my brain and the different chambers and so on and so forth. The biggest thing that he explained is because of the fact, of course, can I hit her? No. Okay. Because of the fact that a portion of my brain did not develop properly, another portion of my brain was more developed than the other side. And in this case, the reading, writing, spelling, and sometimes even speech in this case did not develop properly, but the section of my brain that understands thought, logic, and math and science, and sometimes even music, did develop to the point where I was very proficient in it. My IQ, which also is tested within all these tests, is actually above average. So I have, I believe, like a 120 something. So it's an above average IQ. But I'm dyslexic, which many acute to being I shouldn't say professionals, but people who are uneducated in this case tend to say that they are less smart. In my case, that's not the case. I had no trouble getting through school, but I did, of course, have help. Reading and writing and spelling is a big portion of what we do within inside the United States when it comes to our education. But the help that I got through, I still graduated with high school with, I think, above B average, which in my case, I'm okay with that. It's basically what I graduated college with. I had graduated with a 3.67. I'm okay with that. So, anyways, with the scan, with the tests, with all this stuff, in 8th grade, I was, again, for the second time, by law, diagnosed with being ADD, not ADHD, but ADD, and also dyslexic. But it kind of gave me and my parents more knowledge about the idea of what, dyslexia is, in this case being more of a developmental brain function than it is so much something that is quote-unquote curable. For a very, 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 very long time, people thought you could cure being dyslexic. In the 40s and 50s, they actually would send men and women who they deemed to be dyslexic. They used other terms, and I personally do not like using those terms, to mental asylums, and they would be tortured. It's the latest way to put it. They would be tortured thinking that they could cure that person being dyslexic. In other cases, though, put into homes where they thought they could do anything for the rest of their lives. And it's just, I joke about this all the time, but if my parents did not give birth during the time which they did back in the 90s, there could have been a chance, and I, in fact, would not be talking to you right now. So anyways, we learned about all this stuff, and because of we also got a little bit of a stronger diagnosis when we went to this doctor, we were able to provide me with even more abilities to help me succeed within my education. So each year, oh wait, what do I have to do? Okay. We would have what's known as an individual educational plan meeting, where my parents or a guardian, depending on who was available at the time, so either my grandmother or my parents would come in. My dad at the time was traveling a lot. And we would, of course, talk about what things are working for me, what things didn't work for me. In this case, for me in particular, math and science still weren't really an issue. So the main focus for me was to work on things that could help me better work with my education. So into high school even, they offered a lot of AP courses in high school, which basically were college-oriented courses, so that I could get college credit. Now, at the time, I was taking these AP courses and I was doing very good. AP World History, AP US History, I took AP something else too. I took actually a bunch of AP courses. So anyways, now that I think about it, my school psychologist, though, in high school, and my guidance counselor deemed that I would never be able to go to college at a very young age, and didn't tell me this. Which I felt, well, slighted. What is... Alright. So, long story short, again, because I'm trying to make this as least detailed when it comes to certain aspects. When it finally did come to time for me to start applying for college and whatnot, which again, I had a decent GPA enough where if I was going to be applying to college, that I could go to a community college if I wanted to, or even a college that may not be a large college in this case. And I remember the day I walked into my student guidance counselor and I told him that I was going to be visiting colleges and whatnot, that he told me that he didn't think I'd get into these colleges and whatnot, and it kind of got me to the point where I was like, well, watch me then. So, now mind you, I started looking at colleges in 10th grade, so this is why I'm talking about this now. Not in junior year, not in senior year, but in 10th grade, in my sophomore year. My parents were big on the fact of planning. They and mostly now it's partially. So, being in New York State, I looked at colleges in New York State. We have what's called a SUNY system, so the State University of New York, where basically any SUNY school, they will have basically a set tuition for that school, room and board. But any SUNY school, you could actually do any form of education within the entire system, meaning if I went to, in this case, at the time when I was applying to schools, SUNY Morrisville, which I did attend for 1 year, if I wanted to take courses at any of the other SUNY schools, not during, hypothetically, the spring or fall semester, but in the winter or summer semesters, I could and be paying still the tuition of Morrisville versus the tuition at a bigger SUNY school like Binghamton or even Syracuse University, which they have a SUNY partnership as well. So even though they're technically private, they have a deal with SUNY. So long story short with that, I started looking at colleges. I had brought it down to 15 colleges that I would like to apply to, that I thought that had my pretty good idea of what I wanted to go into, yada yada yada. So we're going to fast forward a little bit. My junior year, I really stuck down and decided that if I was going to go to college, that I need to make sure I have the proper information when it came to getting my resources in college. So New York State guarantees you get those resources all the way through basically grade school, all the way to K through 12. But they do not guarantee then after that that you can get it in college. This is incorrect. The information is wrong. So why I say that is I was actually given the same thing, that we cannot guarantee that you will get your individual educational plan once you are in college. And if you do have your individual educational plan, they actually fine you from joining their university or college. Wrong. So wrong. And here's why. At least within a SUNY system, and actually most colleges which I looked into, that's part of the reason why I looked in those colleges, they have some form of sorry, just trying to figure out what I'm doing here. Some form of help there. Some form. Any form that you can think of, they have it. And when I mean help, I mean almost like what I was talking about, like a resource room. They have someone who could be someone dedicated to you, have your file on form, be able to talk to you through all the courses that you might take in college, someone who might be able to even get you extra help when it came to test taking. So my individual educational plan, was that I got double time on my tests. It took me a lot longer to read information, actually understand the information, and then once I actually understood the information, being able to answer the question. So any form of written tests, it took me a lot longer. So the big thing they gave me was double time on my test. So if a test was allotted for 1 hour, I would get 2 for 4, so on and so forth. It did not require me to sit there for all 4 hours if it was a 2-hour test and I got double time, but it did allow me to sit there for 4 hours if I needed. The big thing also with my IEP was also when I had to write essays, that my IEP allowed me to type. So something that they did, which I never figured out why they did this, but in 6th grade, during my resource room, they had it so that the students who were in the resource room would be basically doing a typing course. And it's exactly what it sounds like. There would be basically a course where they would have you on a keyboard, like so, and you would have to use the proper finger. And I never figured out why they did this for us, but they gave you a proper finger to use for that particular letter. So in this case, it'd be K, and you had to use this finger to go to K, or this finger to go to whatever letter it was. And it was ways to just structure basically how to properly type. Well, I think I found out later. I never figured it out because no one else in my quote-unquote graduating class did this. And so when I told them I did this, they're like, why didn't we do it? And I'm like, I have no idea. I don't know if they did that because of because they thought that we would benefit from it. I do not know why they did it. But part of my IEP was that if I had an essay to write, I was able to type it instead, because they felt that I could use spell check, that I could do such things like that, but also that I could type things out faster, instead of having to use the double time that I would use in my individual educational plan for when I was in school. They felt that I could get my essays out better that way, and also so that my teachers could actually read what I was trying to say. Because a lot of times the logic was there, the understanding of the topic was there, it was the sentence structure, it was me trying to spell things, there was no grammar, and so being able to actually type it out and use spell check and such like that, not so much the grammar portion of it, but spell check, they could actually understand what I was trying to say and properly grade me in that manner. I remember the first time I did it, it was for an AP test. Oh my god. So, the one thing I can say is I probably shouldn't have taken certain AP courses, and that's my own fault, because I was very hard-headed and needed to do certain things that the other students were doing. And don't get me wrong, I enjoy taking AP courses. They're one of my favorite things that I could have done, and the educational purpose behind them. But I also know that some of the tests, the actual AP test itself, were at the time too much for me to handle. As I got older, now I understand that. There's plenty of students where it's the opposite, where it's, they're able to do it absolutely fine, and they're doing great. But can I get through there? Yes, I can. No, I can't get any further. Okay, anyways, so for myself personally, just a little bit harder. One of the requirements that you had to do for, I believe it was AP US or AP World, you had to submit and at the time, not that I've graduated college, it's nothing, but at the time I think it was like a 5 or 6 page essay, and you only had a certain amount of time to get it all done per section. And because of how the test worked, it was really complicated. I never understood why they had to do it in this way, but they made me write it out like everybody else, and then I was able to actually type it out, which didn't make any sense to me. Finding out later, they were supposed to provide me with a computer, but they didn't. I still came out with a 3 out of 5 on the test score, or 3 out of 5 that year? I'm pretty sure it was out of 5. I got a 3 out of 5. So, not great, but I wasn't as mad as I could have been, because it could have been a lot worse. But that, per example, was something that I was supposed to be guaranteed in this case, because of being the fact that I had proven that I was dyslexic, that I had an individual educational plan that was prompted by New York State saying that I, in fact, get these things, so on and so forth. Oh boy. We'll get into it in just a minute. I don't remember what I do here. Well, that's great. I just died. Alright, well, I have to find something out. Alright, well. Anyways, so... yeah, I gotta break the rocks. That's what I thought. There we go. As I got older, continued to look at colleges and whatnot, I was incorrectly told about removing my IEP before I went to college. And hear me out. So my advisor in high school, I still to this day think he was the worst advisor that I possibly could have gotten. And some people were like, how is that even possible? Yada yada yada. Reality came to do it. He did not think I was able to do anything to help me in any shape or form. And so he just kind of gave up. So everything after that, I was kind of navigating on my own, and he prioritized everybody else but me. That, you know, my students and whatnot. Sorry. We'll keep talking about this once I get through here. Now I remember what I gotta do. Okay. So junior year comes around. I do more personal visits to colleges. I realize that I really want to do is do environmental fields. That it's either that or veterinarian. So I start applying to colleges. Of course, in my senior year. But before my senior year happens, like I said, I was to remove my IEP and turn it into what's called a 504 plan. A 504 plan is not as well respected as an IEP plan. Not that it's not a good thing. It still helps you get certain resources. Is not in quality of resources. So you don't get double time in certain circumstances. You do not. I have to. You don't know any of these things either. Yeah, see what I'm talking about with the focus thing? Not much going on here. Just trying to focus on the one thing, can't talk at the same time. Best way to get up there. Oh yeah, now we can get up there probably now, huh? I killed it! Okay, so anyways, they advised me, which was the wrong thing to do. I'm gonna say this 110%. Wrong thing to do was, if I wanted to go into college, that I needed to remove my IEP and go into a 504 plan. Once I actually got into college, after already doing that, I learned very quickly that I could have kept my IEP, kept the same resources I was in high school, and apply them to college. Now, this was SUNY colleges. If I was in New York State, SUNY colleges. I cannot guarantee you that it's the same for a private college in New York State and or any other college within America. However, I can tell you is that if you do have an IEP or something similar to that, and are looking to go to college, contact your college if that's to attend to directly. See if they have some form of resource room or resources that someone with, in this case, dyslexia or learning disability could use while you're still going to college. Most universities have something in that realm of things. Other colleges do not, but most colleges do. And even if they do not have some form of resource like that, they do have other resources for students who need extra help in some cases. So what I'm trying to say is do your research. Do your research. College. So, look, we'll finish talking about this after the screen. Excuse me. I also have Pepsi with me right now because yesterday I was so tired. And I did not sleep last night. Gabby is free! Ooh, awkward. Makes me want to watch these movies again, which I have on box set. Wow. Actually, it's a DVD box set, which is even worse. And it's not even Blu-ray. Alright, so anyways, that's year 2. So we'll get on to year 3 now. But anyways, so college came around. I got actually accepted into 13 colleges. Yeah, 13. Not really a lucky number. So, 4 of them were community colleges because my parents felt that it was a good idea to still apply to community colleges, and the rest were all 4-year educational programs. I decided to attend the State University of New York at Morrisville, or SUNY Morrisville, for the natural resource and conservation program that they had, which technically at the time, I don't know if it's changed, I think it has changed since I left there, was only a 2-year program, and then you would continue on to basically their HVAC program to get your 4-year degree. Which did not in any way, shape, or form in my mind, but they felt like you had a better chance of getting a job with the HVAC side of things than you did with the conservation side of things. Fair. That's fine. You probably will, because now that I have a degree within the degree, I don't really have much of a job to show for it right now. So, long story short, went there for a year. Morrisville is, if you know New York State in any way, shape, or form, in the middle of nowhere. And when I say the middle of nowhere, I mean like it has one gas station, one light, one bar, and a pizza joint, and that's it. That's it. There's no grocery store. There's no really other restaurants there. There's no entertainment. There's no shopping malls. There's nothing. The closest place that you could go to was about a half hour away, and that was the closest Walmart that I could go to when I was in college. So, not much there. Morrisville had a great time. I did really well in my education, actually, there. The problem came down to is that I felt that I wasn't going to get the education that I wanted out of Morrisville, and so I actually transferred back home the year later and went to my community college. When I went to my community college, though, my parents, because of course I learned, like I said before, that when I was in college that I could have kept my IEP, I contacted, which was the community college that I went to, which I'm not going to go into because then that would be too close to the premise of. I contacted them and just said, listen, I'm dyslexic. I had an IEP, but before I graduated high school, they switched it to a 504. I still have all the paperwork. Can I submit that paperwork to you so that I could be able to get, my resources that I received in high school at the same time in college? And they said, absolutely. All you have to do is make sure you fill out the proper paperwork for our college and make sure you have proper paperwork that you have from high school and submit all that when you were submitting your application to go here. I said, okay. And she said, basically was as if I didn't apply direct to them, as long as I brought it in once the semester started, everything should be fine. It's okay. So, I will say, like I said, do your research. They were able to make sure that I had proper education and all things when it came through all this stuff. Once I finished submitting all my paperwork, and once I also went through basically their form of testing, because, like I said, every so many years you're required to be tested again as long as you're receiving those types of resources and help, basically. Everything was good, and I was continuing with my education. So at my local community college, I continued my education. I finished out with my associate's degree. It was I did receive what's called time and a half instead of double time. So in this case, when it came to tests, I was still able to leave the room, go into a separate location, in this case a place where basically it's a small room so no one could distract me. I could take my tests by myself, or if I wanted to, with someone who could actually read the test to me. As I got older, I started away from that though, and I started taking tests either room, or I would still go into a separate location, but I wouldn't have someone in there with me reading the test to me. We're going to continue. But that still was able to happen for me. So if I wanted it, I would just make sure that a week ahead of time I would know, typically you would know a week ahead of time when your tests are going to happen, or at least around that time. You would go to, in this case, the resource room center, or the resource center in this case, let them know exactly when your test is going to be, what you think. In this case, laptop, they could provide a laptop for you to do the writing portion of things. If you needed someone to read the test for you, and everything else, no matter what, was going to be set for your educational side of things. So anyways, so while I still did a lot of those things, and I still left to go and get those resources, so knew that I found that I didn't always need to be doing that, and that was just more trial and error for certain courses that I was taking. So some of my English courses that you still had to take in college, I did in fact still leave, still had it read to me, stuff like that. A lot of my English courses, though, did not require me to have so much tests. They were like, the other quote-unquote tests they were given were essays that you would have to write, but most of the time my professors would have me just go home and write my essays, which was fine. I actually appreciated that more than having to try to, in a 2-hour span, write really, basically, in my opinion, and excuse my French, but a crappy essay. So, after now 3 years of college, I had finally gotten my associate's degree. I got a AS in environmental studies, and decided that I was going to transfer out after my second year to attend SUNY Potsdam, which is basically all the way by the Canadian border, and finish out my degree. Same deal though. I could take my Final Four plan that I took in high school and what I also used at my community college and apply it to my education at Potsdam. Same deal. Once I applied and I was accepted, I could submit all the format paperwork that I had from FLCC because they were still considered a SUNY school. Submitted my paperwork from FLCC to Potsdam, proved that I was in fact, because you still have to prove that I was dyslexic and also had ADD and had these different resources, and was able to then be accepted through Potsdam. At Potsdam, oh, whoopsies. No wonder I started up here. At Potsdam, though, things were a little different. And that's what I always say is do your education, talk to your professors, do what you gotta do. When it comes to college, at least a 4-year institution versus a 2-year institution, they actually require you to talk directly to your professors versus where at FLCC, the resource room people will actually talk to the professor for you. What am I doing here? Sorry, it's not what I meant to do. Nope, the phone's ringing. Hold on. No idea. Cheryl or Art needs to call me. They can call my phone. Which hold on 1 second. No one's here to call me. Okay, cool. So, okay. I see what's gonna have to happen. So, anyways, at FLCC, they required you to, or they didn't require you to talk to your professors directly. Basically, the professor would then know that you would be leaving the room for the test, or in this case, for certain things, and they would then basically have the test already there at the resource room, and all you responsible would have to do is get yourself to the room on the day of the test and take your test. Potsdam was different. Potsdam, you personally would still have to fill out all the paperwork for the test itself. you would actually have to talk to the professor in the beginning of the semester, let them know directly you were in fact a student who would take the test outside the room. I never actually had an issue with that. I had a friend, though, who had an issue with a different professor who the professor did not like the idea of them going outside of the room to take the test. For whatever reason, they thought they were going to cheat or whatever else. Or, of course, their fault. Which I never understood that. But, like I said, personally, I did not have that issue. But, like I said, a friend did. So, basically, you would have to go talk to your professor, let them know that in this semester, if you've never at least had that professor before. So the one thing in college that you'll find out, too, depending if you're in college or not now, is that you will, in fact, have a lot of the same professors inside your program. Not a bad thing at all. I actually really enjoyed it as long as the professor is a good professor, meaning I felt they educated me properly. Oh, I have to spoil those things up, okay. See what I mean? I get distracted and I lost my train of thought. Oh, right, so my one professor who I had multiple times was someone who I, like I said, had multiple times. Never had a problem with it. All she, though, needed was from me is I would go to the resource center, get the paperwork that said that I'd be taking all my tests in there, and she personally would make sure that the tests were already there, ready to be done. Which is awesome, in my case. But some professors were the opposite. They required me to, every week, remind them about the fact that I was taking a test in or outside of the class. And yeah, some of them were just not as nice as the others when it came to certain circumstances here and there. What am I supposed to do? Oh, yes. Others were just fine. But they did require, for the most part, a different format when it came to taking the tests and everything else. I'm doing great. Anyways, so just put it in there. There you go. So like I said though in the beginning, I did graduate from college. I graduated with a bachelor's in arts and science, environmental studies with a minor both in biology and geographic information systems. Like I said, back in the beginning of all this, I was really good with science and math, and that's basically what I went into, science and math. I keep falling. Do I still have it? I do. Okay. I found the resources that I was able to acquire in the beginning of my education did help. But what also helped, which I'm going to go into detail now with all this stuff, was medication. Now, many people that I have talked to found that medication also helped them, but other people also found it completely being the opposite case. In my case, I did not try, in this case, medication to help with my ADD until I was in college. A lot of my friends, however, did the opposite. They did it in elementary school and middle school, and not so much in later on. So, in my case, this is my own story, how I reacted to it, yeah, so on and so forth. I decided that I was going to try what is known as Adderall in my junior year of college when I first transferred to Potsdam. The purpose of this was I felt that I could do better in school, but the issue behind my not being able to do my work or whatever else it came down to, or not doing it properly, was more of an attention issue than it was a concept issue. So I understood the concepts, I just did not, in my opinion, felt like I was putting in the work that I could have been putting in. So in this case, I talked to my doctor. My doctor, of course, knew that I was, in fact, had been diagnosed for a very long time. Why can't I get into that room? And helped me prescribe me Adderall. Now, I will put this very clear out to the world. Adderall is a class something drug, class 2 drug, I believe. It's federally offensive if you were to sell it. It's a federal offense if you abuse it. It can be addictive. I'm just going to get this all out of the way right now. It is not something to mess around with. And if properly used, if you were to properly use it, in my case, it can be beneficial. However, in the case of a lot of other people who use it, they use and abuse it. And I have seen that in first count. But I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm not going to go into more detail than that. With taking Adderall, though, there is a requirement by, I don't know if it's the federal government or the state, but every 3 months you must go in for a urine sample to make sure that you are using your sample properly. Using the Adderall properly, I should say. And then on top of that, you also need to go through kind of like a questionnaire to make sure that the dosage is proper. So in this case, are you still finding yourself not being able to complete tasks? Are you not able to do certain things? Do you interrupt people when they're talking? That's a big one. No was part of being ADD, but basically turn is a big part of it. Oh, okay, cool. So anyways, so I did try Adderall. Like I said, prescribed Adderall in my junior year of college. First time ever when I was doing all this. And when I finished at my community college, I ended up with a 2.75 GPA, which in my opinion was not acceptable. I did not feel like that was a good enough GPA in my opinion. Others may disagree, but personally, in my own opinion, it wasn't good enough for me. So I decided to, like I said, talk to my doctor, get prescribed Adderall, and try it out. After my first semester at Potsdam, though, I received a 3.4 GPA. And right there and then, I knew, again, it wasn't so much the concepts of things were eluding me, and more the fact that, that the attention side of things were what it was, more the complicated issue. I continued to take it, and continued to do what I had to do to finish my education. I did find, though, that there were some side effects with the Adderall. And people, again, have different side effects when it came to things. And like I said, this is my own experience. If you had similar side effects, that's awesome. If not, don't take what I'm saying without a grain of salt, and understand that you may not experience these things, and that if you feel like that's a necessary thing for you to try, then might as well try it. My personal side effects were, I had what are known as coming down headaches. Basically, the Adderall that I was prescribed is known as Adderall XR, so it's supposed to be a long-release Adderall. The idea would be that I would take it in the morning when I had classes, and by the time that I'm going to bed, it would be out of my system so I could fall asleep. But when I would be coming down off of it, I would have pretty bad headaches. My body, in turn, pretty much got used to the dosage of the Adderall. And those headaches slowly went away, but in the same case, though, okay, I did experience also loss of appetite. In this case, I actually lost almost 30 pounds in the first 6 months of trying this new product, in my opinion. It's not really a new product, it's been around for a while, but for me, it was new to me. I did lose about 30 pounds. So what I mean by loss of appetite, I would take it at about 8 a.m. and about noon, like everyone typically would get hungry, and that was actually about the time where I had about half hour to go get either a late breakfast or early lunch. In my opinion, how my schedule was all over the place. So I just don't see it. I don't know. So anyways, so about noon, I would try to eat something, and I actually would get nauseous, and I couldn't actually eat. Or if I did try to eat, I'd be full within like 2 bites of whatever I was eating. Now, I'm not skinny whatsoever. I'm 5'9", and I'm over 200 pounds. I know this. But at the time, I did lose a lot of weight. Oh, I see. Got it. Because I wasn't actually eating properly. So after about the first 6 months, I talked to my doctor about that, and she said that, that it's very common to be a side effect within with other people, to not be terribly worried about it. As long as you are consuming 2 meals a day, you'll be okay. And I'm thinking, okay. Problem was, I wasn't. I was only eating dinner, and most of my dinners were until very late at night. Mostly due to the fact that I wasn't getting home until really late at night. got a key. And because of that, by then the Adderall was already out of my system, which was good. Ugh, stupid thing I forgot. And so I was able to eat no problem then. And typically the issue came down to is then I was like absolutely starving. And so I would make meals for myself that probably were made for 3 or 4 people. And I would eat close to all of it. Some cases it was all of it. Nope, did not mean to do that. So that was, again, 2 symptoms that I had, side effects that I had when it comes to Adderall. The other thing that I had, the only way I can describe it is foggy brain. So basically, my brain, once I was coming down from the Adderall, I actually was having a really hard time just anything. Like, so here's an example. So today, I did not take my Adderall. And a lot of people will be like, well, why don't you take your Adderall? There's just some days that I just will not take my Adderall because I do not feel it necessary for me to take my Adderall. One of those days. In other cases, though, I will take my Adderall. So right now, I can focus enough to be able to talk to you, play the game, and also maybe think about something else. I can multitask in a sense. But in other cases, I can not do that. I can only focus on one thing. But when I take my Adderall and I'm coming off of it, it's almost in the same sense where I can't even do that. I can't focus. I can't make a proper sentence. Things that I should know, I almost get like a brain fart. Best way I can describe it is like a brain fart. Sorry, I'm gonna open up something real quick. So anyways, so I basically have a brain fart. And I did talk to my doctor about that as well, and they said that is a possibility that, you know, just you're coming off of the medication and things may not be firing properly, and I'm like, that doesn't seem good. But typically after an hour or so of me coming off the medication, everything's okay. Uh-oh, kitty. Rat. Again, back to, I was talking to you and totally just didn't pay attention to what's happening here. So anyways, another side effect that I personally experienced was slightly higher blood pressure. And this is known in a lot of stimulants that you can experience higher blood pressure when it comes to certain stimulants. Not that it's a good thing, it's a bad thing. It's something that I've been controlling. I'm not on another medication to control my blood pressure. They just know that, well, I am no longer on Adderall, meaning the fact is days like today that I'm not taking my Adderall, my blood pressure is at where it's supposed to be, and when I am taking my Adderall, my blood pressure is a little bit higher. Sorry, scene. The other thing that, so So those are more like the side effects, benefits of Adderall. Oh no, I should say one more side effect. I can't shut up. That's the nicest way I'm going to put it because it's true. It's a stimulant. Adderall is a stimulant. So the idea is that Adderall can be used for people who have ADD or ADHD. So people who have ADD, it helps them actually be able to focus on their and be able to do things that a normal human being who does not have ADD can do, or should be able to do. People who have ADHD and who take Adderall, it typically helps them calm down and be able to sit in place, but also be able to focus then on the task at hand. I don't have I need to move around and fidget as much. I get distracted very easily, and you can tell me to do a task, and I will totally forget you asked me to do that like 2 seconds ago, even though you just asked me to do it 2 seconds ago. With the Adderall, though, I'm already chatty as is. I can't stop talking once I take it. My eyes also, my mom noticed the first couple times me taking it, and she just stopped looking at it after a while. Dilate. It's not uncommon for that to happen. Again, it's a stimulant, but it's one of those things where if you're not prepared for it, if you didn't know it's going to happen, like myself, I really didn't do as much research on what will happen. I already did that. It can be a little surprising. Benefits. So one thing that my parents were really big on with me when I was younger was doing the laundry, taking out the trash, or in this case, making sure I pick up like the blankets I was using, and folding them away and putting my dishes away that I had to do, stuff like that. I will do it. It's not so much a defiant thing that I won't do it. It's more that I'll be, in this case, talking to somebody, and my parents will ask me, hey, make sure that you put your blanket away after you use it, because we'll be in the living room watching TV, whatever it is. If there's anything else in the exact premise that you are talking to me that it can't distract me, it will. And because of that, whatever you said will not come out and tell me exactly in my brain and function and say, Caitlin, after you're done using your blanket, put it away. It just doesn't. It's like putting a phone charger into your phone that's like partially broken. Not that I'm broken. It just won't function properly. So, long story short, Adderall was able to help me function with that part of things. I was able to listen, understand tasks much more thoroughly, and do those particular tasks compared to before, where I excuse me, would sometimes not even remember you asking me to do such tasks. I gotta find the rest of his books. Oh, sugar. Another benefit, it is a stimulant. It does give you some form of energy, for someone like myself. So, being the fact that it's a stimulant, it gave me a feeling that I am more awake, I can focus more, like I said, but also in some case helped me when I was extremely tired. I will say, Adderall plus caffeine is not a good combination for me. Some people may find that's the best combination out there. For me, it was the complete opposite. Me adding Adderall and then adding caffeine made the crash, or coming off of the Adderall and off the caffeine, that much worse. It was just bad. It was real bad. I can see it. How do I get to it? Alright, I'm not gonna try this. Oh my goodness, as a benefit now, I'm no longer in school. I'm no longer, taking courses, such like that. However, oh, I'm low power mode. Need to plug it in. However, like I said, day-to-day tasks can be beneficial with Adderall as well. For my case, for me, I have found that with other things besides Adderall, making sure I have proper organizational skills, making sure that. Where are these other books? Sorry, I'm just trying to figure out where those damn books are. Darn books. Oh, I didn't do all these? There we go. If I have the proper skills that I was taught when I was in high school and even in college as I was going through, that I actually use those skills and then also aid myself, in this case with Adderall, to be able to actually focus and do those tasks, I can actually do what I gotta do. In this case, I gotta clean our room today. I did not take my Adderall, so it's gonna be really hard for me to focus enough time to actually do that. We'll come back and deal with that in a minute. You can come back in free mode and do that. Oh. I didn't even do laundry today. I gotta think about it though. Think about like if I actually need to do laundry or not. Cause I'm looking over there and I'm thinking I do. Stuff like that. But also, as an adult, there are some people who absolutely need to do that. Oh, okay. Day-to-day lives. As somebody who lived without Adderall for almost 20 years, do I absolutely need it for my day-to-day lives? No. Could I absolutely use it? Yes. But I also find that I do not like the side effects as much as I like the benefits coming out of it. And I will say it like anybody else. This is my experience. This is how I feel about it. Has nothing to do with how somebody else may deal with it or experience it. This is just something that I personally have done with it, dealt with it. I still to this day do use it when I need to. Like studying for certain examinations, because even though I'm out of college, I am still taking classes to help continue my education. And on top of that, oh, come on. I'm also still trying to be a functional adult, is the easiest way to put that. So I still feel like at times that I need to do that. I know, you know, my mom and I will talk, and every once in a while we'll just joke about how the fact that, you know, maybe today is an Adderall day, and typically that's usually when there's like 1,700 different things I have to get done that day. I'll do that. So. But yeah. That's that. Just put it in. My goodness. I don't remember doing this. Okay. So yeah. Sorry, I was just trying to think of anything else that I really want to talk about, but not really. Not at the moment. So, I mean, if you guys have any questions, my social medias are attached to my Twitch account, so if you want to, you know, send me a direct message, I have my Twitter, I think, attached, and my Instagram attached, so always you can send me a direct message that way, with questions about my experience, or if you just want to talk about it, that's fine as well. But, yeah, if not, no big deal. Huh. Oh, okay. Okay, if anyone else has a topic they want to talk about, I'm gonna change the title of this and... Okay. I feel like I'm gonna sneeze again. Sorry about that. I apologize for this very loud, very loud. Oof, that actually really hurt. Nothing there. We're missing one full pot. Nope. Not what I wanted to do. How do I... There we go. Oh no. Okay, cool, whatever. Oh wait, you're gonna give me stuff? Okay, cool. We just came through this way. Go this way. Wee. Okay. We're seriously, like, just here. Never mind. Different room. Different place. Monies. So now I can do a polyjuice potion. Didn't go through there yet. Who do I want to be? Definitely no sworn potion. Her potion, geez, the spell. See, I've unlocked other people, but I haven't done anything, so. It's not really worth changing to anybody else right now. If I had somebody else who had, that one spell that I'm looking for, it'd be worth it. But it's right now not worth it. Buckbeak! Man, it's already 2 o'clock. And we've been streaming for 2 hours, so probably after this little side mission thing, I'm gonna get off. Just so I can shower and finish up, like I said, cleaning my room. Oh yeah, this was a big mission. So, do we want to take a break now? Probably. Okay. Here's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna get off. Well, I'm gonna go by the characters, but then I'm gonna get off. It was nice talking to whoever was watching. I appreciate you watching. For the people who stopped in for a couple seconds, couple minutes, whatever it is, I appreciate you watching as well. I had a couple new followers today. Sorry if I didn't see that. If you watch this later, Pezdorado, yeah, 3. I could be saying that completely wrong. Thank you for the follow. And for Raphael, 990, Raffaello, RAFFAELLO 990. Again, also thank you for the follow. Brings me up to 18 followers now, which is awesome. I need to become an affiliate, I believe. I need 50 followers, and I also need to have an average of at least 3 people watching me. I'm having like an average of 1.1 people watching me, so I'd like more people watching than I would care about so much people following me, but it's awesome that I'm getting followers. I really do appreciate you guys coming in and following. Like I said, before we get off, let's go unlock those characters. Toot. There we go. Okay. Got a few more characters unlocked. That's awesome. Can I go all the way back? The only thing I will say about this game that irks me is this in particular. I wish they would give you the whole sheet like they would when you change your character, to be able to buy your characters, to be able just to select, go all the way down, pick your ones, instead of having to go and sit there until the one you're looking for. Not the greatest thing in the world, but yeah. Yay! Later in the game, you get to buy all these bricks, so you'll have enough coin at that point. Oh wait, can I be? I can be Dottie, but I can't be the other character I'm looking for. No, not worth it. Station guard doesn't do anything. Alright. So, let's see percent-wise where we are at. Still so mad I can't learn that. Okay, so cool. Okay, we are still at only 2 red bricks. Most of the red bricks you won't be able to find in normal store mode, but you probably can. I'm not taking my time to look for them because I know in the free mode, once I actually get the characters, I can get all that stuff. It's kind of easier to do it that way anyways. I have 12 of the 50 characters unlocked now. I'm 24.7% into this. I have finished now 2 full years on story mode. I only have 2 of 4 where I've basically completed the level with what they say enough studs, which is like a wizard mode or something like that. Oh, I'm sorry. I've done 12 of 50 students in parallel. I've unlocked 24 of 167 characters. I have found, and in this case just bought 2 more of 44 of 200 gold bricks, and I still have not completed a complete house crest. Again, not too worried about it because within the free mode you do all that stuff anyways. Yeah. I'm thinking the next time I get on, which I'm not sure is when that's going to be, either, well, maybe today. I gotta find out how much work I gotta get done first. I'm gonna say probably tomorrow, but maybe today. I'll get back on. We might work on some of the free mode levels to see if we can collect some of the red bricks. Because I would like to get more studs and start helping me find more of the characters. Because that's the fun of it as well, is to be able to find the characters and then play as the characters. Even if it isn't free mode, you can be able to go around the castle and do what you gotta do with certain characters. So that's the one thing I think I would like to try to do the next time I get on here. If not, I'll just continue with the story like I have been and get through all years 1 through 4 and then go back and do the free play mode then. Who knows? I haven't really thought too much through. I'm just kind of playing as it goes. I think though the next time once I get through years 1 through 4, I'm going to take a little bit of a break from Harry Potter instead of going right into 5 through 7. And maybe play just 1 or 2 rounds of something else. Because I have a bunch of other games that I can play right now and stream if I wanted to. If you have any requests or ideas, shoot me a DM in my Twitter or Instagram. Let me know what games you'd like to me play. I do have other Lego games as well, or I can always get them as well. So leave me a comment or a DM and we can see what we can do. Alright, thanks for watching, guys. Bye for now.